Hello, sixth graders, and welcome back. So this is part 2 of the Zentangle landscape. So, as mentioned before, by Friday, you should have your outline completed. Uploaded, I'll post the document, all of that good stuff. Now, once you have that done, then you're ready to start designing your landscape. So, as the instructional video showed you, you could go ahead and outline all of your outlines. So, for example, in her video, she used a black marker to outline. You could use a black crayon, colored pencil, etc. Or if you wanted to use a different color, you could, but I would try and stick with the neutral palette. So, something like gray, black, or brown to outline your work. I would suggest outlining your outline, going over your outline, because you're going to have so many patterns and so many different things going on. So I do recommend going ahead and going on top of your marks that you've previously made with your choice of color. But stick with a neutral palette because we're going to use a variety of different designs and different colors. So I'm going to show you several different options here, depending on what you decided to do. So I just did all that outlining. Etc. So let's say I went ahead and outlined all of that stuff. I'm just going to do half for the sake of demo. And then I want to make sure that I go over and erase those extra little pencil marks I no longer need, either with your regular pencil. Hopefully you have a big eraser there. But I just erase all of those pencil marks I no longer need. Now, once I have completed my entire outline, then I'm ready to go in and start looking at patterns and designs I see. So I posted the example sheet up for you so you can decide on patterns. But like I said, you're not limited to these. These are just some examples to get you going. You can totally look up your own Zentangle patterns or make up your own. But once you do that, then you go ahead and start picking out what you like. Now, if you do have access to a printer and your parents are okay with you printing it out, you could print this sheet out so you could have it ready for you to go, or just have a device nearby so that you can look up the images, whatever works best for you and your family. I wanted to show you some different options of Zentangle patterns. So if I'm looking at something like this, something that's more geometric, I could switch it up. So I don't have to follow it exactly. I could switch it up a little bit. I could add more to it. So if I like this pattern here, I want to use it in my heels. But let's say like I want my heels to remain looking curvy. I could switch it up a bit. And instead of making them vertical and straight, I'm going to add curved lines instead. So think about the shape you're trying to create. So when I do curved lines like that across a space, that's called cross contour lines. So I could continue to do that in different sections if I wanted to. But that's optional. You could just go in and straight, make your patterns, etc. Now, it's up to you if you want to go ahead and sort of break up all your different spaces, whatever you decide to do in each space. It's up to you and what patterns you want to include there. If you want to break up a big space like this into smaller chunks and go in and create a design, that's totally up to you. Or you could go ahead and go straight into whatever material you want to work with. That's artist's choice. So if I want to mimic this pattern, it's every other one. And here's a little trick for polka dots. So let's say I want to make sure that if I'm doing a checkered pattern, I want to make sure that I don't hit something in the same spot. So if I want to do a checker pattern, I could go ahead and place a dot in the areas that I know for sure I want to add a certain design. So that way, when I'm filling in my design, I don't accidentally color in the wrong space. So those designs can help guide me. So if I want to do that pattern, I can. But I switched it up a little bit to my liking. And I'm just simply following those dots and patterns. Now, notice how I'm resting my hand on the surface that I'm drawing on. That helps me with my craftsmanship. And when I say craftsmanship, I'm talking about when we're trying to make things look neat and clean and have good line control. So a big chunk of this lesson is working on our motor skills, working on our line control, making sure that we stay nice and neat. And so those spaces, those previous dots, because I can always go back in and erase those dots, but those dots help guide me to know which area I want to include pattern. And take your time. I'm actually working a little bit faster than I usually would. Okay, so another thing to consider is you don't have to necessarily use colors that are supposed to be in that space. So if I was designing a hill or a tree, I could use green, I could use yellow green, I could use dark green, etc. Or I could decide to use a bright, vibrant color. So for example, let's look at this artist here. So in this example, this artist used a variety of different colors in that space. Some of it was colors you would traditionally see in mountains or in hills, and some of it are really cool favas, pop art colors, something that you wouldn't see in a traditional landscape. So if you want to use rainbow colors, if you wanted to use tie-dye colors, whatever you decide to do is up to you. You be creative. Try different things. So I can continue to fill up that space with designs. But notice that I'm staying nice and neat, taking my time to fill up those spaces. I'm going to try and get a little bit closer. But taking my time to fill up those spaces. So, like I said before, if you wanted to, you could go over some of your designs with pencil first, or you could just go ahead and go in and fill in those spaces with designs. I could also use multiple colors in different spaces, and you can use multiple materials. You're not limited to one material or the other. So for example, I've been using marker, but I could switch over to color pencil. But notice that I am not coloring in with the traditional method. So the traditional method is that we would go in and use the side of our pencil or the side of our marker. We're not going in and coloring in. Now, it's fine if you want to color in a little bit with the pattern. So, for example, if I do a zigzag pattern and she wanted to make her zigzag pattern bold, it's fine if you want to color in and fill up that space a bit, but we're not going in and just coloring in as if we were working in a coloring book. We're working on line design. We're working on patterns. We're working on motor skill control and development. Okay, so lines only, but limited, very limited filling in as far as colors, the shading method is concerned. Okay, so that's pretty much it as far as color. Now, let's say that you don't have access to color pencils or marker or crayons. You could use a Sharpie pen. You could use a felt tip marker. You could still totally do designs in that space. Let's see. Let's try. Here's one. This one's a pretty neat pattern. So to start off, just to do the basic outline to make sure I get the shape right, I'll start off with pencil first, and then I'll go in with design. Okay, so this space, let's say I only have access to a black or a blue pen. You could totally do a Zentangle landscape with limited colors. And then the next series, and just to let you know, I'm doing this design right here. And notice that I also make sure that my lines are connected. So I want to make sure that I don't have any floating lines, but the lines are touching. Okay, and I can finish that pattern all the way through. So maybe you have a felt tip pen, maybe you have a regular drawing pen, etc. But for this lesson, we're not worried about shading or anything like that. We're just focused on line, shape, and developing space, foreground, middle ground, and background. Okay, so I can continue working in this space using a variety of different patterns and designs. So happy drawing, have fun. Remember that your project is due this Friday, May 22nd. All right, happy drawing. I'll see you next time.